What has 4 wheels and flies?
4 wheels and flies. KitKat.
A garbage truck.
Oh, flies I miss.
Welcome to another episode of Gearhaus.
Yep.
Yes. It's been quite an eventful week, or rather last week.
Yeah.
I'm your host, I'm Vanilla.
And I'm Kalasinga. Tuko hapa na Leroy. Ujametangwa Leroy. He's a master tuner.
Ati? AKA?
Auto-tuned.
Yes.
Master tuner, veteran racer. Namjua kama Mr. KitKat, sijui nini.
And now he has the new title of being the GTR killer.
GTR killer.
Apparently now I'm just killing everything. R7 killer.
GTR killer. Sasa lakini engine killer. Engine killer hapana.
Fingers crossed when we raise all of them across. Hata ndani ya
Kanyanga tu clutch ukiwa tu umekunja.
Good.
So last week I think Racewars was the biggest gig we've had this year so far. Motoring.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think it did well. I think it's such a good thing when you see the car scene, beginning to get a lot of these activities.
Yeah.
And also, there was a very huge debate in Vienna about stock vehicles. What is stock anymore?
Yeah. In fact, nearly tweets. I was seeing guys doing 10 seconds.
Yeah.
They're saying they're stock-ish.
Yeah,
Like, what is stock anymore? What is
If you have the stock body.
It's a stock car. Hata kama ni ya jicho moja.
But 10 seconds and you're calling your car stock.
What stock cars are you talking about? Because
Anyway.
but I think it's really good when you see the scene getting so vibrant. Even the new kinds of vehicles we're getting in the market. For the longest time, I remember back in the day, if you had a WRX, an STI, that was the fastest car on the road. Rightfully so, because even now it's still killing cars. But it's nice when you also see newer vehicles getting on the road. And it's been quite something.
Yeah.
What was the highlight for you?
For me, or for Leroy. For me.
For you. Tutafika kwa Leroy.
So for me, a number of things.
Yeah.
Of course, there were 2 days. There was day 1, the rolling races.
Yes.
Then there was day 2, the drag races. So for me, day 1, Umang's car, the Evo 9. That was crazy. The last time I saw Umang's car racing was Racewars in Tattoo City.
Yeah, that was
That was like the first Racewars.
Yeah, the first race
Yeah,
was.
that was the first Racewars, yeah.
And that day, the Evos came to shine because drag everything down.
No one could touch them.
No one could touch the Evos that day. Yeah. So that's the last time I saw Umang's car. So when he came back on Sato, so there was a bit of hype before the event for where his car is concerned. Yeah. But I was like, okay,
those automatic.
Then the guy shows up.
Hype about the Kiambu Road garage.
Yeah.
Gariao.
Ganio.
Sijua walikuja.
Carnage. SS.
SS.
Yeah, it was there, but I think they didn't go through the whole
event. Yeah. So now so for day 1, Umang's car. Day 2, this guy.
Yeah. It was only
the GTR.
It was only him. And almost killing an Evo. No, you killed the Evo.
Yeah,
actually
you beat the Evo. Yes. Alikula Evo.
That is when you had the misshift.
No. I took out Umang from the
group stages. Alishinda Umang kwa group stages. Then GTR.
The GTR.
Yeah. Then unfortunately that's when the pipe.
Yeah, he started having too much boost by
Danger to manifold. I should have won that. Danger to manifold.
Kuna zile jokes zinaendanga siku hizi ati unaambia tuna I need more. I need more.
The last thing nilikuwa najiambia I need more.
That was the day for more. And the guy is like, hey, no more.
Funny enough, I didn't even touch the laptop though. That was
that I think that's a highlight. You're not touching the laptop.
Yeah, I know that was not to self. Do not. So yeah, but it was a good event.
And what was your highlights?
For me, I think the car being a new setup. For me, just attending the event was my highlight because I hadn't driven that car.
Yeah, I remember the last time it's when now you are rebuilding it.
I was breaking in and just driving around town. Not really breaking in. The engine radio was broken in. So.
But now after the rebuild.
Yeah, just to make sure everything is fine, checking vitals. So yeah, just buttoning up stuff. But then I was fixing everybody's car until Friday. Then after work is when I'm going back at 7 trying to get the laptop.
Like, my car.
You're like, tomorrow I have a race.
That's ridiculous. But I don't know if it's just me or it's a predicament for any guy with the customer base. First, the customers come first.
It's always like that. It's quite... Yeah.
We ended up, I think, fiddling in the car at night. Ended up wiring in rolling launch.
Yeah.
Because of the rolling launch. That was new, so also testing it out.
Oh, you had never tried it before?
Never. So I had the idea of what I wanted to do. Did it. It worked. So I was like, yeah, let's go and have fun.
Yeah.
But I think the first day the car was flying.
Yeah.
So the groups, I think we flew through the groups. Then immediately on knockouts, we get Gamora. Slayer of Giants.
You are like, wow.
And I don't know, I think people don't realize how intense racing is on the body.
Yes.
Like that concentration for a full day.
Yeah.
Because I remember we got there in the morning.
Yeah.
I think I left home with
you do
just a
warm-ups,
cup of water. Ended up having 2 slices of pizza the whole day.
Oh, yeah.
So you just like, even just mentally, it's like a mental game. You need to be on point. And that day, I think I was slacking. So in the evening, after such a good day, the first knockout, you get Gamora Bana.
Yeah.
And Chomoka do ahead of her.
You're like,
even driving, looking behind.
You're confused. I saw you looking back.
Yeah, because I launched and I was like, damn, up. And I was about to just shift into fourth and, sail home. But that was a lesson learned. So
that's when you were like,
mad.
What happened?
I was like,
and I know that feeling,
all the curse words, but I went through my head in that one moment. I just saw her flying away into the sunset.
The sunset.
Wow.
That was a good lesson. So the whole night I didn't sleep. I was just there changing gears.
Migo tu ziko hivi.
Niliule kwa wife. Nilimpiga na teke sana. But trauma, I was traumatized.
Who's Gamora?
So it was good. But I think I was just happy the car acted. It went well. I've been battling a few niggles here and there since I put the engine back.
You're now doing what? 750 block IAG?
No, it's stage 4 plus. So it's, I think, 1,000 plus.
1,000 plus.
But we're underutilizing it.
On a GC8.
You're driving at with room.
Yeah, I think
you're running safely.
Was the hardest thing because no one tells you how much
the torque you need to.
Yeah, we were talking to almost 155.
I can imagine.
So you'll have the biggest torque wrench you have and you're still there shaking.
I was telling a guy that's the craziest part. When you're putting together like high torque engines, so even torquing the nuts themselves is nuts. By the time you're done going round, it's how many bolts? It's
6.
Yeah. By the time you're done with those bolts, you're sweating. Someone is asking, "Sini kufunga 2 bolts?" Like, what bolts? You should have tried.
It was ridiculous. But they got the block at a good deal. Funga that. I put strapped on my built head. So I think I have S2 cams. It's valves, springs, retainers. So it's a fully built long block now.
Yeah.
It's my dream build, basically.
Yeah.
So you're where you wanted to be.
About it. Yeah, man. I don't know how I stumbled into it. You ni Mungu. God will do. But things just came together pretty fast in December. I ended up having some money.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. I was saying they gave it to me. I was being asked, where did this come from?
Because I remember the last time when we were talking about it, you were always telling me, we could get one of those.
I just needed that closed because I think I got to the limit of the factory cases. I kept on cracking them. So I've cracked 2. The internals were fine. Moved everything to a new case, cracked again in Masinga. I was just like, man. But I didn't want to go back to a 2-liter. I felt what the 2.5 feels like. Torque is fun, man.
I remember when you kept tweaking with mine and your uncle saying, this guy's so much torque.
2.5s.
He kept asking me, can we add a little bit? I'm like, Ikosa.
Torque is fun. When you have that power low down and it's immediate, it's actually quite fun.
Though the Subarus deliver power quite different.
They're late.
They're late. Yeah, Subarus don't give you...
By design.
Yeah, it's mid to...
So like what RPM?
No, the earliest, especially, it depends. Stock engines,
3,000.
Stock turbos would be, around that 3,000, 3,200 is when it starts coming alive.
Yeah.
Big boost at around that 600.
Yeah, about that 6 to that 8. That's when now you're like, whoa.
That's when you get that STI kick.
Yeah.
And then they die out also fast. So
by the time you're hitting 42.
Yeah, on the 2.5 is 42, on the 2 liters, maybe around 56, 6,000.
Yeah. Flat.
And on yours now?
Yeah, mine now makes
power throughout.
So what are you? You're getting all the way to 6,000, 65.
I rev till 85 maybe.
Yeah.
9. The head is built to rev to 995. But I don't think the turbo is making it.
This guy driving a bike.
Actually stick to my Uber chap lane. Yangu,
But the Suzuki is also proper.
They are proper, like in Sami, I'm making power from 1800 RPM. Ikifika 4.5 isha. It's modern power. So when you guys are talking about 3,500 RPM, that's when you're making the torque properly.
Yeah.
And then that's when
you're killing it.
Maybe that's when mine is dying. Yeah. So anyway, I can't even go over 5k RPM because there's barely anything at past 5,000 RPM. There's nothing.
You're just making noise.
I'm just making noise.
And now for the guys without RPM gauges, that's where I started off. My old school carburetor never had that. So I used to look at people's cars and I'm wondering, kuna revs.
Yeah. You're even wishing one day I'll get a rev counter.
Kanyaga inafika mahali inaacha tu kuenda. It doesn't even have a limiter. Good old days. I used to even go for runs with that old car.
Which car was it?
K70 Corolla. The one before is.
Oh.
It's like
so
like an E30.
Yes, I know it. I know the K70.
But boxing.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. So it seems we started back in cabbies. He's the only one who started the FI engines, man.
Serious? But we had to have had a carburetor.
Yeah, he had a Corolla as well, but not the K70. The one that came after the K70. I think it was an
A91.
That was an A80.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'm not too good with those cars, but it was a KUM.
But it was curvy. It wasn't boxy.
It wasn't boxy.
Yeah, that's the 80s, 90s there.
Yeah. So he had one of those, and then Subaru. Actually, my dad had a Subaru Legacy.
Subaru guy.
Hey.
Kalasinga.
My dad had a Subaru Legacy. Because of the ones that had Kitambo Subaru used to have a 4-wheel drive switch. On top of the gear knobs.
Choose when you go into 4-wheel.
Izo.
Yeah. The front wheel primarily.
Yeah, primarily.
There used to be front and then you
unafinya. Alikuwa na KJ596W. I still remember the plates. Hey.
What happened? He sold it.
He sold it. And that's a car I actually over Easter, my mom asked me, wewe ulikuwa unaiba gari ukiwa mtoto? Nashanga, what do you mean? Kuna siku moja tuliacha KJ hapa na tukaipata hapa kwingine. So I was like, did I used to steal? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But ni kama nilikuwa naiba gari na drive. Yeah.
For us, I think, which is what we're actually discussing in a previous episode about the cars that we owned. Like, that was episode 1, actually.
Episode 1, yeah.
Yeah, that's when we were discussing the cars. For me, I loved Subarus because of a lecturer in uni. He used to have the Legacy, which one?
The B9?
No, the one which was before that.
The boxy one?
Yeah, the boxy one.
Oh, okay.
And he drove me in that Subi. I was like, whoa, I've never felt this in a car. His was the Qatar boy. And I was like, hey, this guy. There was like a hill that, as we were leaving Campo, that we would go through. Yeah. And I used to have a Kadatsan, K120Y. So that hill used to be problems. I would have to get into like gear 3. Him is cruising the hill in gear 5 and it's still pulling. I was like, hey, Subaru's
Turbos.
Yeah. Hey, so for you, I know there was actually a question which I had in mind, even as I was on the way here. Can you daily your car? Your race car?
Daily it?
Yeah.
No.
Though you have so much room.
I don't know. I don't think I would. I can.
You can.
But I'm too scared of bikes, bana. It's the one thing. Naonanga hapa nitaguzwa, mara somebody will give you.
Do the guys strike again? I'm not sure mpaka Leroy, bana.
Even the GTR killer is out here fearing to do this.
I'm scared of bikes. But no, I would. It's just that...
so reliability is not an issue for you?
It depends. Now as a race car, I think that's what people don't get. When you're pushing things that hard, things just fatigue faster. So maintenance, things that you didn't assume are maintenance.
Yeah.
Similar to engines, like race engines, you get to maybe 1,000 racing kilometers, 2,000, you do an overhaul. And it's not necessarily because you've broken something, it's preventative maintenance. So for me now, a lot of that preventative maintenance is costly.
Yeah.
So you're like, let it.
So what you put mileage kwa truck?
But it's drivable. I do it on the weekends.
Yeah,
I enjoy it. It's therapy. So my car primarily is an all-rounder car. So it's not built to do drugs. People like, comparing me with drag cars.
But yours is
because of the drag racing.
Yeah.
But I'll do that. I'll still enjoy it, driving around town in traffic and, getting...
What's the farthest you've gone with it?
Maybe Nyahururu.
In fact, the way you're saying your car isn't just a drag car, just juicy. I saw the video at Mad Max karting.
Oh, yeah.
And you were just doing slides.
I didn't even think...
I didn't
even plan it. I was actually just there, left the car for the car show.
Yes.
I had some customers, so I had to go do some tuning jobs.
Yeah.
Came back when the event was almost done.
Yeah.
So I was just hearing everyone telling me stories how the people are, getting to do slides.
Yes.
So at that point, I just saw the track was open.
You're like,
there's no one there.
Yeah.
Like, let me just go do a launch. And I was seeing the corners, and you have that itchy hand. Just had a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Then I was so surprised. By the time I was done, I was seeing the whole track
was full.
Guys, people watching you.
They're like,
the video went very viral, Banas.
I didn't see it.
Video?
No.
The guy was...
just fun times.
Fun times. The guy was looking so well put together. Fun. It's an all-rounder, truly. Yeah.
But I think, when guys are talking about stockish cars, stockish cars, at the end of the day, I think that's where reliability goes out of the window. Whatever stockish for them means. Because my imagination is, it's a tuned car, and just the body is stock. But then you find most people will try and tune their daily. Like, this is a car you go with to work, but then you're also trying to get power out of it, fiddle, keep it going. And I think you have experience with that, like with the Mitsu.
The Colt,
Yeah, the Colt. Like, after a while, you start finding that the car is not...
But I think he'll disagree.
Yeah, most of my customer base is purely dailies.
Yeah.
So the people who use that...
But do they do that? Do they hit to proper, like, stage 3 tunes?
Those are the worst people. The worst drivers are the ones who don't know anything about cars. They just finger that thing. So when I'm given the job of, taking care of the baby, you have to have that in mind. But you find that those cars already, the major issue we have here in terms of reliability is our fuel. So those cars are designed to run high octane fuel in Japan.
Yeah.
You come to this beautiful country of ours, let me not say that one, a beautiful home.
Developing country.
Developing. They make us, we're not as lucky having very high quality fuel. So most of these cars you'll find they can do like 200, 300,000 kilometers in Japan. They come here, they'll do a good 50. Nasikia mtu anasema na engine ingine slim. Let's say the second hand market is big. It's not actually because
nilikuwa napanda Kinungi.
That's where the story.
Nikaona tu kitu tu.
Niliona tu lights.
It's not only a Japanese issue.
No, it's actually
most of these German workshops.
The same thing.
They don't like saying it, but
I'm
sure they also have big business in terms of those replacements for engines, maybe long blocks, slims.
And you've mentioned something about fuel. And I know we're digressing from the topic for today, but
it's actually part of it.
As a tuner and a person who works on cars, and this I'm asking actually selfishly. Like, my car, is designed to use 95 at the minimum. Is it 95 RON or 95 octane? RON. Yeah. So my car is actually, the manufacturer says minimum 95 RON. Of course, we have normal fuel and V-Power, which I think are said to be 91 and 93.
Yeah, I think they rate to be about
93.
92, 93.
Yeah. So let me ask, if I run my car on, for instance, liquid moly additives, octane boosters, am I safe?
Yeah, you are, but the only thing
it's
is...
It's very marginal.
The issue is, let me give you an example. Factory manufacturers know that there's that big variance in terms of octane around the world. So they put in place strategies in the ECUs, in the computers.
Yes.
So basically, the computers have the NOx sensors, and it's normally a feedback loop.
Yeah.
So cars will generally be tuned almost to the limit of knock. And then they put those safeties for the knock sensor
To listen for it,
it listens. Basically, it's a microphone. And you just be hearing frequencies in the engine. So once you start approaching detonation, what we call knock, the ECUs have strategies of pulling out. So they either pull out timing, ignition timing. They add a bit more fuel. That's why you hear people saying, "Hey, gari
Nakunywa. Run
safe
rich.
mode." I don't know if you've had safe mode.
Yes.
My booster's gone down. So all those are just strategies manufacturers put to save the engines. But they're not designed to run in those poor conditions for an extended period of time. Because they'll always try to land back to get to what they're tuned for.
Yes.
So you find your car will be fine. So if you're somebody who's used to resetting a battery every time, after resetting, you're like, that thing was flying. Then at some point, it just lowers itself back down, and then you're still in that. But,
get back to retard.
It's a bad habit people have. I think many people need to avoid that. The ECUs are saving the engines. So if you don't get a tune, the best you can do is avoid resetting your battery constantly. So just let the ECU try and add that power back in gradually. But VPOW is actually, there's a difference.
VPOW, it makes a difference.
It's noticeable.
It's noticeable.
In some cars, you'd see maybe even 20 to 30 mil horsepower.
And now those additives, they do. They make a difference.
They do.
Yeah.
But the thing I noticed also with additives is the percentage difference is very small.
No, it depends on which brand. The cheap ones and the expensive like
ones.
There's VP Racing, you have I think NF. There are several known brands
which
actually
good.
have. And they actually give you ratios. They'll tell you for this octane, you need 3 bottles to a full tank, 4 bottles, 2 bottles, 1 bottle.
Yeah.
So I think it's just not... If somebody gives you something as a wonder, just tell you put 1 in
snake oil.
Yeah, snake oil.
Here's a snake oil for you.
This is race fuel. Put it in there. There's no... That's just... they're just playing with you. But at the same time, those things help. You'll actually enjoy the car the most.
Okay.
And then now there's the other side. You have your usual naturally aspirated Kamoti. We are talking your Cademio, and you put Vipa. Are you wasting fuel?
Not really. As I said, I think the cars that suffer the most, and you'll hear them in traffic. Sijui kama ushaisikia ama kwa kamlima before some of these Ubers and what.
When it's lagging.
Well used, And when they're lagging the engine, what happens? Or sounds that the engine.
Yes. I've heard.
What have you had?
That
clanking.
That is the lagging. Yes.
So that lagging is I think it's the highest load the engine sees because it's in a high gear at low RPM, and you're asking for a lot of.
He's put his foot down.
So the analogy I like giving is think of yourself on a mountain, like mountain, ukienda hivi. Ukiwa gear 7 na uko kwa mlima. How is it for you pedaling?
It's hard.
Just over here.
And that's exactly the same thing the engine feels. So the time you're lagging the car, the engine has to work the most. That's when you see the most cylinder pressure. That's when things actually break. So the guys who are used to lagging engines, they tend not to last as long. And also the guys who flog the engines.
You always foot down.
Because you're asking for load. It's the work. Load is basically work. So if you drive like just very lightly, those cars tend to live a long time.
So the issue is just a bit of balance. Don't lag your car.
Yes.
And also you can finya occasionally, but not always correct.
But even with finyaing, usually the thing
is okay.
Launching for him is different. He's a race car, but avoid doing launches.
Yeah, you break things.
Yeah. So most of the times it's let your car kind of pick a bit of speed and then.
Yeah, but there's also a bad habit people do. Where they say, Mimi, I don't like revving the car too high. The funny thing, it's counterintuitive. The higher you rev it, the less. If you rev it at less throttle, meaning your revs go up, but you have very light throttle, that's the easiest work the engine will do. Same thing with the mountain bike. You're going fast,
basically you're almost letting the car.
It's almost like you don't have to
build the revs.
But if you're like gear 5 and you want to start accelerating in 5th, it's easier just downshift.
Downshift,
You just need to stop being lazy. Downshift.
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 Drop a gear.
And
disappear.
Kinungi pale.
Anyway.
So I think that's a very important topic. And, for a lot of people, they've always had this issue of how should I drive my car?
Yeah.
And I think you've already covered it quite adequately. Like basically, there's a way to drive a car. Don't always be foot down. Tumetoka kwa lights.
Yeah, but foot down occasionally.
There's the occasion.
Smiles per
gallon.
Smiles per mile.
Smiles per mile is of course a thing. Yeah. Shida ni sasa uifanye a regular thing. And especially if it's a car you want to keep. You know, if it's a car you want to keep for a year or two.
If you've tuned for it, you should see the tuning process. I think that's when I tell customers, I always have a pre-tuning checklist. So it helps people prepare for the tuning. But if he was there, the first day I was telling him, Pinya yo kitu. I think we did. That was which year? 3 years ago.
Or you tuned this car.
3 years ago.
3 years
Yes.
ago.
You tuned this car.
Give me a checklist like this. I'm like,
A PDF.
Leroy, gari yangu hizi vitu zote zinakuanga tu sawa.
Afrika hapendi kusoma. Soma.
Soma.
And then we meet the day of tuning. It's like, umepitia kila kitu. Hebu kwanza tufanye ka drive hivi. So we drove. He's like, okay. Kila kitu iko sawa. And then he opened the bonnet to check again. He's like, yeah, this one is healthy.
Yeah, you can tune.
And stockers tend to be easier because people haven't fiddled.
Yeah, they've not tried too much with it.
It's the hardest because I have to simulate the worst case scenario in terms of we put a high gear and we load the car from a lower RPM, meaning worst case scenario.
Yes.
But of course, I don't do that just like that. I'll make sure the car is safe.
It's safe,
the power, take everything down. For those, we call them logs. Do a log, do a sweep through the RPM. Then from the data, I now make changes that make that whole thing safe. So now you find after the tuning session, somebody can go flogging on the car, but tuning is just half of the story. There's still the mechanicals. So somebody is there without oil.
Ama sijui
Or an overheating engine. I don't think there's any tune that can save you there.
sijui nasikia ni sijui waste ifunguki sijui ama ni nini mnasamanga nini your waste gate has a problem sijui what ama
But
nini
that's basically your car has issues.
your car has issues.
Yeah, your maintenance is not in the right.
Alafu you find gari na tuniwa alafu gari kona issues, something happens, ni tuna
Yeah, I'm already used to it.
I'm sure Leroy has seen a lot of that.
Yeah, let me tell you,
Everyone
the
is
number
always-
of customers, there are even some who've come with cars on deathbeds. Like, the car is already knocking. Ile unasikia ka. And they're coming and saying, no, I'm ready for the tune. And they give you the key. So I've even had some customers I've just had to come here. Let me show you something. Come on, tell
Let me tell you something.
Continue the car, but disclaimer. Then you just rev the car, and generally for road knock, you'll hear it around 3,000, especially on the diesel. Then it gets, you'll hear it. If it's a very faint knock, you'll hear it. Just a few, a small one.
Yeah.
But it's the precursor of bearings that are
Of good
getting
things
out of
too.
tolerance.
Good things happening.
Yeah, because nowadays I see I think I've seen you. I'm another tuner wearing
Yeah, the dead
earphones.
cans. No, but there's some who use it for listening to the knock, the audio knock warnings from the tuning software.
Just so that you can start off before you.
Yeah, that's one. Or like for some cars, I actually have to wear them and I'm actually listening to the knock
The
sensor.
knock sensor,
itself. So it just sounds like you can hear everything. You can hear the tappets, you can hear like the cams, you can hear
But you know, you actually have to be really good because if you just put them on, but then you will not figure anything. It's so noisy in there.
Yeah.
But knock has a very distinct sound.
Yes.
So
The
you
ping.
train for it.
Yes.
And now I have an ear for it.
Yeah.
But I use dead cans, especially some ECUs that don't have knock support, like Fuel Tech. I need to put that on. I tune using those. So there's no knock sensor on the car.
You're the knock sensor now.
I'm the knock
You're
sensor.
the knock sensor.
Excuse my antenna ziko hapa. I've clenched my
But umekaza haga.
Kufinywa hivi, man. But there's some knock sensors really. It's a game changer. It's, I think, a basic now. Almost all modern engines have that. But race engines like Fuel Tech, then they tell you shouldn't be on fuel that's not limited. Then they're assuming you're using E85.
You're on
Or using
methanol.
methanol. Or using some, things bought in jars and cans.
Kumbe kuna mafuta ya Njemaki petrol station.
Or we mix.
Chemist.
Uko hapo halafu kwa Njamaki unasema unajua nilikuwa nimeongeza kanaitwa nini? Kalikimoli.
Akatolwin.
If you felt, I don't know if you were in the pits in Racewars.
Actually,
You didn't feel how there's a different smell of exhausts there.
yeah,
It had sweet sound.
Actually,
sweet smells.
whenever I go for a racing event, it always smells different. You can even get high.
You know, it has actually there's a sweet smell that is normally in there.
Very many cars are that day.
So
and he's over there killing people with
mixtures.
Your mixtures.
Yeah, but I also make my own blend.
Oh, you make your own blend?
Yeah, I make my own blend of fuels. We use octane boosters. There's a class of chemicals called aromatics. So that's what actually Vipo and the like use. The different compounds that bump up the knock threshold. They make the fuel resistant to detonation. So
especially let's just track back kidogo. For the guy who's not an enthusiast, what is tuning? Like, what the hell is tuning? Because maybe there's a guy who will listen to this and will be like, "Oh, I'm just talking about tuning."
We are in Greek.
Walisema kuna aromatics. Mimi najua aromatics za kitchen. Sasa tena aromat inakujia wapi kwa history yote? Like, let's just like, let's just start. So what is tuning? What is torque? Like,
so
is it all this?
Tuning is even like before. Let me just give a background. On my K70, I was tuning it. Basically, at that point, it's just optimizing the vehicle. So at that point, carburetor tulikuanga na screw moja ilikuwa inaitwa mixture. So you could do maybe there's some cars that had two mixtures, like a high one and a low one. But those basically regulate the jets and you dictate how much fuel you make. Like you throw into the engine, meaning how much power you make and how much consumption you have. So tuning is just that balancing act. There are very many variables, especially with modern engines. We have the ignition is variable. That time we'd move kulikuwa na distributor. Unai-advance, unasikia power imeongeza, ama unai-retard. Nasikia inaonyonga power. So even that was tuning. And I think with technology now, we have so many sensors. So we have so much data coming. And basically tuning is somebody taking all that information and making a car run the best it can be.
With the hardware it has.
Exactly. Or optimizing it for changes that are not what the manufacturer did. So you'll even see it in motorsports. Rally, you didn't see WRC. Every time the car comes back, there's a laptop.
I get a laptop,
So the perfect tune is the one you've just done now.
So what is, on Twitter I see guys asking, what is a stage 1 tune? What's a stage 2 tune? Like, is there? Well, you and I know.
I'm a stage 1 Leroy. Stage 1 Uja, they're different.
Actually, stage that's a good question because I've also had the same. That's just a way of somebody optimizing packages. So shops, because they want to cater to masses, they'll come up with packages for different power levels. And basically, what now most people will refer to as stage 1 involves basically hardware remaining the way it is and just going on the laptop, making changes to optimize and make more power. So that in the broad sense,
stage 1.
Stage 2, you'll find is bolt-ons such as maybe exhaust and intake. Most cars, just with those two, because they're normally the biggest restrictions in some cars. You open up that, you can again go back to the laptop.
The car can breathe better.
Stage 3, I think now is when it's
downpipes
considered bolt-ons. Even turbos. You can have injectors. You can have different things. Methanol, water meth injection kits. You can have nitrous on some cars. So all those now people lump in as maybe stage 3.
Stage 3,
And now stage 4 is almost
whatever you want.
It's the limit now.
So you do what you want.
Assuming you've built the engine at that point, you're making enough
new
power
pistons,
to break
new
parts.
rods.
So, but ideally, that's what I think most of the internet.
So can you tune like your fielder?
You can.
Yeah, you can. Hey.
The only thing is,
so for fielder gang, this question is by the way for fielder gang.
Yeah.
Fielder gang want to tune.
I'm a fielder. Acha niwaambie sahi. Don't think you're a turbo. You will make more power, but you might not really see those huge gains that turbo cars. Because for a non-turbo, it's almost tuned at the limit. There's only so much air. The atmosphere
you can add on to them.
So when the engine takes in a breath, that air you can't magically just add up. a lot more. So unless you make a nitrous, niambie. Tukimbize hapo GTR, but
so hata akiweka exhaust asifikiria ameweka turbo. Unajua sasa
exhaust yo turbo. Na turbo si kelele unasikianga gari kimake. Sometimes people hear a loud exhaust, your gari kona turbo. No,
so exhaust si
turbo. Turbo is very good. It's a spoolie thing.
So
we should bring a turbo, one of these.
turbos, especially here in Nairobi, they suffer the most. They can only breathe in as much air as
the elevation is pretty high up.
Yeah, we're high. We're at around 5,500 feet. And from sea level, calculating upwards, we lose around 17% in terms of performance. So all cars, turbo, non-turbo, everyone generally is losing that. But turbo cars can regain it by spinning that turbo faster. So that's what we call
a supercharger.
Or a supercharger. So that's where the boost word comes from.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was quite important too, because guys are always saying, tune 1 inamaanisha, stage 1 inamaanisha nini?
Tunaweka pops.
Nakumbuka. But I remember back in the day.
Hadi kwenye haina turbo.
Waneka nyambisha. I was telling her about
what's his called?
OG Papaji. OG ni OG. It's like nyamba. But back in the day, guys used to do that a lot on filters, whatever's, DXs and the likes, and lafu kulikuwa na electric BOV. Unakumbuka electric BOV?
Anakafinya.
Good old days.
Ama unaweka firimbi pale kwa exhaust.
Matri kwanza zilikuwa ziamaliza.
Akivuta rev, unasikia huko.
Turbo.
But it's been good. I think any car can be tuned. You gain still. It's just that for non-turbo cars, the gains are
minimal.
Meaning you don't feel as much, especially up here. But you can still tune.
You can still tune them.
You can enjoy them. You can tune for economy. Some of these cars you'll be surprised how horrendous feeling, just because I told you of that protocol for the
actually that happened with my car when it was doing the tune. Actually my consumption was, I mean it's always bad. It's a Subaru, it's terrible.
2.5.
2.5. So it's just bad. But by the time I was going to him, actually I was not even going so much for the power as the responsivity. So the car had stopped becoming responsive as, and you see it's a WRX engine. So it's there's a way you're used to that kind of power. So I was telling you, my problem is not even so much at yuko nataka kupita watu kinungi na wapitanga hata nikiwa hivi. But the car just feels like you put your foot down and iko tu. And then the fuel wasn't. So when I went and he tuned, we actually got more power, but the fuel economy actually improved. So it was actually very restrictive. So actually everything was like, this is perfect.
I think that's most. Even the times we've been hooning back from Kabasha, then I'm coming back, foot down, within the speed limits, of course.
100.
Never more.
In a few minutes. When I look at our tank, I'm saying I've used a quarter tank, and that time we've been flogging it. And it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because we tuned, and that day I spoke about mingi, and then he's over here telling me, "I can't get jack on him back because the fuel is going nowhere. He's just been flogging the entire time. The gauge is still up. The bars are not even dropping. So tuning actually can be a way of getting
it makes
your fuel.
And even just add what he said, like people come with very specific requests. So somebody wants to feel a certain way. So more or less, sometimes my job is catering to somebody's preference in terms of how they want their car to drive. Some people like a very touchy throttle. Some just like something so progressive. Some just want something safe for the Wi-Fi, even if she.
And some just like pops and bumps.
But the pops and
bumps, that's all you want.
Great power
comes great back.
Watu responsible. Usipop kila mahali.
Kuja event.
Utaki wapicha pale mpisha.
Wanaachilia hivi mtu ameenda. Usipeleke watu.
Na mimi nitasema mahali naishi kuna VAB STI fulani napitanga hapo usiku.
Ya rangi gani?
Haikuwa ya blue. Haikuwa ya blue hivi.
Ya blue. kunyambisha bana anyway.
They're not saying names. We're very civilized.
I think what people, it's, if you want to keep enjoying that without the government cracking down, yes, easy petrol, you have to start being a bit. It's quite too rowdy.
Can you do the same for diesels now that you've mentioned petrol heads? Because sometimes it feels like the good stuff is for the petrol heads.
Yeah, so I also do diesels, and I'll be supporting more cars in the course of time. Actually, more or less around the corner. I think from next month I'll be supporting now all these Toyotas and Range Rovers and the like. So
and Volkswagen
and Volkswagen.
You're failing to ask about, will you be supporting Mark X?
Mark X mtakuwa ndani. Lakini sijui kama kuna diesel.
But do you like to tune them? Those cars are the fastest.
They race everyone.
They race everyone.
And they're the fastest.
So yeye ni GTR killer, alafu Mark X ni Leroy killer.
Leroy killers. That's the new name.
Diesels, we support them. I think tuning diesels is different also. But there's a big market for them. People, I think, are getting more aware of modifying them. I'm seeing several with bigger turbos. The people who are, doing off-roading, the people who are doing crawling and all that, different applications. So motorsports is interesting. And even just the kawaida guys. Nataka gari isikunywe sana, ama nataka gari ivute. People who just want that talk. So I'm excited. I've done a few. But I think now commercially I'll be starting from next month.
That's good. Because see, like even, like the V8 Land Cruiser, the LC70, the single turbo. Guys in Australia are doing 450 horsepower on that engine.
Have you seen the torque?
The torque is 1,000 meters of torque.
That's actually a crazy feat about those cars.
That's
diesel.
You tune it kidogo. It's like with even the Touareg. You find by the time the guy is hitting something like 400 horsepower, his torque is wild. It's 1,200. You're like, how are you even driving this thing? It's undrivable.
Diesels are interesting because the engines themselves are designed to run at low RPM.
It's high torque, very low.
Very low. But then they have displacement. Most of them have displacement. And they have very small turbos. I don't know if you've seen an LC, let's say even like a HD, an HD. It's tiny. So those tiny turbos are just meant to punch hard. And that's, I think, the best part about diesels. You can get a lot of, that by just driving them up in the boost. But they're fun. I'm really excited about them.
That'll be interesting.
So I think we've really covered quite a lot. There's a thing you also said about how hard it is to just drive on the body. And I've seen it even with Formula 1, which
in racing,
in racing. And I've seen it even with like Formula 1 guys. I mean, they're doing 5 Gs in some corners. Nyinyi mko hata 1 G. But at the same time,
we do maybe around 1.
If you're doing the
1.5 on the launch.
On the launch. For big power cars like yours.
1.3 is a lot. I mean, that's a whole 0.3 Gs above the pull of gravity. So that's
pretty insane.
1 G is 1 gravity.
So in fact, I've done racing. Kidogo too, but every time I'm on that track, I get tired. Choka. It's tiring. This guy, I think Leroy nimemjua since 17, 18 uko Masinga. Hizo initial days, I think the car you own used to belong to Moody.
Moody drove it.
Moody.
Nasemanga ukipata ex wa mtu.
Alikuwa ameenda.
Hapo my baby. Ilikuwa baby ya mtu mwingine amekanya.
Alafu akaachana na baby sasa.
So I think nilikujua when you got that car because I used to know Moody, then the car.
Then when it shifted hands.
Then kidogo comes back ikiwa red.
Now it's nice.
It's inanyorosha kila mtu. Nikashangaa.
Since 2016.
2016.
As a shell by the way. Wasn't driving.
Yes.
Towed it home. Tukabomoa. Ikaambiwa ni hiyo gari tu inataka tu steel. Aniambia iko na shida gani? Wiring. Za 100k in. Na gari haitembei my friend. Kapa gari 6 months kwanza nikifikiria life choice. Ilikuwa kama development ya Subaru. That's when I was like, apana, there has to be another way. So that's how we even ended up just getting into the tuning.
Because Leroy, you've grown to become a serious tuner. You know, back in the day, the tuners were known.
Tuners
there were
were-
like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
In the whole of Nairobi, there were like 3 or 4. Then
And even then, they were not like, apart from the Kalasingas.
The Kalasingas.
Your namesakes out
Yeah.
here. Most of them are not even serious tuners. People are truly...
Well, most of
It's a big miss
side.
most of the time.
Yeah, no one was doing it
Professionally. I think tuners wameanza like, from the 2020s up ndio nimeanza kuona like...
No, but back then they were there. I think the likes of K, Washira,
Oh yeah.
there was like Chris Paul,
Kind of Simon Sharp.
Simon Sharp.
Sharp,
There
yes.
was also my good friend JB. So there were some pioneers back then. Then at some point, KJ came along and I came along. So it's been growing, and now you're seeing even the younger guys even than us in the scene, and they're still doing awesome. So I think there's enough space for everyone.
For everyone, yeah.
Not scared, don't feel...
In fact,
The more the merrier.
In fact, I'm loving how the industry is growing. There are more people doing racing events. There are more people building cars, more garages building cars, more tuners, different platforms.
For sure.
So it's interesting. It makes things better. It's exciting.
When you see a guy like this guy who's always making Frankenstein vehicles, aitangwa nani?
Mwanzo.
No. Mwanzo will have a whole.
Tamuita hapa aji-explain.
Ataji-explain.
Unaona gari zake zote zinakanga vile zinataka.
Yeah, akona shida kubwa. This other guy, anaitangwa nani? He has a rat rod.
Calvo, D'Souza.
Calvo, yes. So I like seeing such builds because it tells you guys are moving away now from your typical boilerplate. Niko na hii tuweke engine to now I have niko na hizi chuma. Can we make a thing out of
crazy
it?
swaps guys are doing.
Yeah.
Jay-Z's
The
doing
Jay-Z's.
things you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
It's a very good thing to see that. At least now that means the scene is actually growing the way we always hoped it would.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we have a car podcast, which was never there.
It was never there.
Yeah, so we could actually attack some Racewars. Now that you've even said that was the topic.
Sasa zilikuwa wazimu.
This ilikuwa azimu. Ilikuwa azimu.
Enjoy.
Me by the way, nilibambika, and I'm hoping we have another one soon.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that might be,
That one was sick. And even the planning, like finishing that event on time. I think we started rolls at around 1. Just afternoon. And we finished before, like the sun went down, yes, but we finished within
You
a
are
few
done.
hours. We wouldn't have done that before. So I'm sure
The organization has really improved.
even crowd control.
Crowd control is much better.
People
So safety
enjoyed.
overall.
Yes.
Safety was high. Even the crowd itself and how they were planned in terms of how to view the track and all that. It was a dope event. That's for sure.
And you see, being able to close ICD, that was legendary.
Hey, Nairobi. KitKat.
Nairobi.
Kwanza SED, it's a road that takes all the tracks
They
out of
made
the
a
city.
drag strip.
And it's a drag strip. But also props to even Gava.
Yeah, joking. Thank you, man.
Cops allowing that to happen.
And ministry. Yeah.
And ministry, I think it's shout out to them because they're allowing this to happen.
Yeah.
Even as they're putting speed cameras and Rambo strips everywhere.
But I think that's the best part.
This is
the outlet.
This is where
So guys, don't speed on the road.
come for drugs.
In fact, I always say,
Racewars,
nowadays, if you want to enjoy your car, just do it safely in a closed, safe environment.
You have the whole road.
You have the whole route to yourself, man.
Finya.
It
is the one time umeambiwa finya. Hata ukipatana na karao ile bush anakwambia ufinyi hiki. So finya.
So the cops are enjoying themselves.
I know they are looking.
They love cars.
They love cars.
Kwa hapo sote tunaenjoy, but when you're doing it now and hatarisha guys' lives.
That's where you fight with.
So as we close, by the way, since you've been in the scene for so long, in your view, how is the evolution going in terms of the racing culture in Kenya, tarmac racing specifically? Do you feel like we're in the right direction? Am I too confused?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. For racing, I came in 2016, 17 there. Masinga was huge at that time. There weren't very many events. There's Muranga that people are so scared of because you're almost flying off in somebody's,
Kiambu TT came.
Kulikuwa ile the famous Evo 10.
Oh yeah.
Kashuka ikaingia kwa jikoni na chai.
Akaenda akakuwa like unajua baadaye niko na njaa. So at this point might as well.
Ingia tu.
So akapatia hapo kachai. Yeah, it was dangerous. I think at that point, that's the best we could do. They made the safety. The best thing is there was no fatality. There was no serious accident. The cars were a bit slower. And now cars are getting faster.
Yeah.
The scene is also changing because turbo technology, ECUs, everything is getting
twin
faster.
charged.
And safety also requirements are getting higher. So for an amateur setting, this outlet for Delta has been good because all this, a few now, Delta I think has brought up very good drivers because they have a full circuit throughout the year. But now we're also having runway events from Club TT, Kalasinga, we're having Akina MK, the event. And Delta again is back at drags. So the game is changing. I think this last event was crazy because we even got time slips. Unaonanga maju.
Yeah.
Unamaliza every race unafanya 10 seconds, 11 seconds.
That was
pretty
What
cool.
was your best time?
I think they had me clocked in the morning at 11:01.
11-1. Yeah.
But everyone got faster throughout the day.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, I had issues throughout the day. So I still don't know what
The best time of the day was.
Yeah, but it's just a reason to go back out again.
Yeah.
But yeah, the races, it's pretty cool.
2 questions. What's the one thing you want to see added onto that circuit? And number 2, what's a vehicle you look forward to seeing and maybe killing out here?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. What more to add? I think now we have it all, man. We have drifting, we have autocross, we have tarmac racing, we have going straight drags. Yo, this is a time to be alive. Like, it's just, you have your cake and icing on top. Kila kitu imeshapangiliwa.
Better gari.
So for me, I think we're at the cusp of just, motorsports taking off. The crowd that came, guys are hyped. So that was also super cool. I'm hoping sponsors now just start seeing the popularity coming on board, helping
Sponsors,
the local talent. It develops a lot because now when you have that backing, you can keep pushing. But anything new, I think for me, I just want to enjoy what we have. We have almost everything. I don't think if you like drifting, eco. If you like drags, no hiyo. If you like sliding around, go and throw the car around. So I think for events, we have a very good calendar now. It's just for people to come enjoy. Enjoy. Mkuje msijifunge kwa hao. Kama
nyinyi si masufuria.
Hakuna. Usikubali kwa sufuria wote.
Stajiosha.
But for me, I'm excited just getting people on board and enjoying this thing.
You also asked the car you'd like to see, the interesting car. Yeah.
Dude, we have almost, even the Germans are out now.
Yeah.
I'd like to see big rear-wheel drive builds. That's hard. It's something hard for them, Like the big rear wheels, so you can start seeing those Mickey
Thompsons.
So you don't want.
So
it's not about stockish.
Screaming motors. Tunawaangalia.
I'd like to see that come on track. That would be so dope.
So si stockish. So hizi tuende kaende sana.
Kuna watu wamekelea do. Jana sisi wa stock frames.
To stockish.
Kuna watu wamekelea kitu inatoshana na kichwa hii. So it would be nice seeing some of those builds around. But for me, I'm very happy with where the scene is.
And maybe as we finish, I don't know, maybe it's too early to ask. Is KitKat the end? I mean, the only car you're going to race? Am you looking forward to
the end game?
Another car.
Dude, I have such a big appetite. I'm looking forward.
German.
I need to do a drift car.
A drift car,
My hand on my drift buddies telling me I should stop ripping and hurting
your KitKat.
My KitKat. Naimiza sana. Nasema wacha kuifinya.
Build a drift car.
So
proper rear wheel.
30 in the works. So I have a shell somewhere laying around. Yeah, and even German, I might also want to get into maybe having one of those refined cars.
Yeah, refined cars.
So that I can be sipping tea like as I'm just driving around casually in 10 seconds.
And you're listening to your Amapiano on the Bang and Olufsen sound system.
On your Bang Olufsen as you're counting down your 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Yeah.
The AC just seat massage.
With a massaging seat.
That's probably something that's I'd like in my stable. But I'm excited.
All right.
So I guess we've come to the end of this episode.
This is part one.
This is part one.
This will be part
racing.
One. Yeah.
And so we look forward. Most likely we'll have another guest for racing part 2.
And even Leroy can come back. He
can come with another guest.
I'd love to.
like I was saying, we were here
I'm
to
sure
talk about
actually it
racing.
wouldn't be a surprise that due to popular demand,
Yeah.
we need a Leroy again.
Yeah, we're here to talk about racing. Tumeongea juu ya tuning, modding, his cars, whatever is, so many things. Hata hatujamaliza, hata hatujafika like a quarter.
Yeah. So there's still a lot to be said. And thanks for Maria honoring this invite. This was very good fun.
Awesome.
Oh, and he's our first guest on
yes. Leroy is our
podcast.
first guest.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
They should throw those things they throw for Leroy.
Changu na vigelegele.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we've come to the end of the first part of racing. And we look forward to more of this.
Yeah.
Give us your parting words. Na tufungie hapo.
So like you said, first part is over, but we'll have more parts. Actually, not even just part 2. We'll have part 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever.
Yeah.
As many. I think there are no limits to this discussion. We'll keep on having more of these discussions. Really excited to have had you here.
Thank you so much.
And we're also glad that we can share it with our listeners. This is and that's a wrap.
So next time, patane.
Adios.
Thank you.